You know, the subject of the inner self is actually even considered writing a book on it. It's so huge. You live in your inner self. It's the reason why it determines the quality of your life, the quality of your relationships, the quality of your decision. Oops. Honestly, it has more influence on you than you have any possible idea. Certainly on your intuitive nature. So we have to spend some time here because it has so much to do with the entry into your deeper, what you call the next level of your intuitive life. Because this is gut survival intuition here, which if you notice, it's under the heart. So whether or not you have a high functioning heart, a low heart, a broken heart, a mended heart, or whatever, that's really not the leading factor. Survival intuition is an animal heart. It's your animal heart. It thrives on your animal nature. You just have to think about that. It really is basically driven by survival. And so you know what, I'm just mention, I can't decide if I'm cold, hot, up, down. It's actually worth sharing this thing about it because one of the aspects of it that is really brilliant is it's responsible for adaptability. Adaptability. Because one of the aspects of survival is your capacity to adapt to the things that change in your life. And I think if I look at this timeline of illness, one of the great factors of illness in my world is the inability to adapt to things that happen to you. And you drop anchor, and it's more than the trauma itself. It's that you refused to adapt to the trauma. So there's a big difference here between this event happened to me. I don't like the event that happened to me, okay, I got that. And then there's the choice not to adapt to the changes in your life that were brought about because this happened to you. Now these are different things. These are different stages. These are different choices that you are making. The inability to adapt is an inability to survive. And it's contra your intuition. Your intuition will immediately engage a route of adaptation. It will immediately do that. Why? Because your intuitive system is not personal. It bears no connection to sentimentality. It has absolutely no allegiance to anything at all that's personal in your life. Nothing. It is not a system of loyalty. You've got to get this through your head. You really got to hear what I'm saying here. Intuition, your gut here. Your animal intuition is about survival. You surviving. It's not about loyalty. It's about getting the animal to survive. So the gut is here. When you hear these stories, And they fascinate me about how people suddenly, in the moment that I'll put on this wig, I'll do this, I'll do that. How'd you think of that? They followed the gut instinct in the moment. Something that wouldn't have occurred to them to outwit someone who was in the house, or I think I'll hide here, or I'll suddenly do this. Something that they wouldn't have ever in a million years thought to do. But it saved their life. It saved their life. You know, that guy, I'll hide in France with that attack at the publisher. You know, I'll hide all these people in the freezer, and then I'll go up because I'm a Muslim, and I'll You adapt to the moment, operating on gut intuition. Boom, boom, I'll do this, do this, do this, do this. You're acting in the immediate. You're not attached. This form of gut intuition does not say, but you know what about this? You know, you got to take this with you, and you got to do. No, it doesn't operate like that. It doesn't operate like that. Got to get out through the sewer. That's how you go. Oh, it's so dirty. It doesn't operate like that. Here's your escape route. Go now. I can get out through the sewer. That's it. Done. Go. Left. Now. Go. This is how this part of you works. This. Right here. Right here. Right here. You know, dress like a slut. Done. It's not funny. I'm telling you. Why is that funny? That's not funny. Dress like a doctor. Is that funny? I don't know why women go like that when you tell them that. Oh, I couldn't. Yes, you can. I don't get why that's funny for women when they hear that. You've got it. You'd love to do that. Why is it not funny when I say dress like a doctor? Dress like a professor. Right. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't get that with women. It shouldn't be, when I tell you to do something sexual or suggested, it shouldn't be that way. Do you understand? You shouldn't hear it that way. You'd hear like, wouldn't matter to me. It should just go on flat land for you girls. Flat land. Shouldn't even respond. Should be flat land. Shouldn't matter to you at all. But I said dress like a construction worker. You should just hear it like this.
I think it's because it's so different. If you said dress like a wizard, everyone would laugh as well, because it's just so different from our normal.
But no, sexual. Mm-mm. You should just go like this. With sexuality, like, I'd never even think about that, would you? That's what, it's that kind of thing. I'm not done. I can't, I'm really on a roll. Okay. So, this kind of intuition has that voice. And one of the things that I'm going to say to you, but you won't remember. You won't remember this because it won't make sense to you. Because this is the kind of information that gets buried in your unconscious. Your unconscious knows this, but you won't remember what I'm about to tell you. And that's that your own intuition at the animal level has your survival at stake in a way that is includes violence, that includes the use of weapons, that includes things you can't imagine. So if you say to me, I could never do this, I go like this, la 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 la, because when I say to you, you don't know yourself. You don't. You have animal instincts in you. Because you are primarily an animal. And you will fight. You will. One way or another. You'll use your mind, if not your fists. You'll use some part of you. You'll use passivity. You'll use whatever tools you feel the best at. So never tell yourself, you're not a killer, you're not a fighter. You're not. You've got an animal instinct. Okay. And something I learned from a book that just changed my life, and it's called Who Will Write Our Story? And it's by a brilliant Jewish historian, Emanuel Rosenblum. And he wrote about, he ended up in the Warsaw Ghetto, which is where he realized his job was to write the story of the Jews who were going to be killed in the Warsaw Ghetto. That in fact, the map of the Germans, the Nazis, were to end the people. So he collected as many stories, and he stored them in milk cans, and then they buried them under buildings in the Warsaw Ghetto. And they now are in museums in Warsaw because certain people survived. But oddly enough, I'm now reading a book called The Zookeeper's Wife, about how two zookeepers, zoologists, used the zoo in Warsaw as an underground to get Jews out or hide them in animal cages and do whatever. And they keep referring to Emanuel Rosenblum and how they moved people through the ghetto. But anyway, and his work as a historian, one of the things he observed in this was that he needed to get people, as soon as he got their hands on them, to tell their stories. And that we adapt. And this is right here. This is the part of us, is our capacity to adapt. And adapt to change and adapt to trauma. And that what we do, and this is our gut instinct. Instinct versus intuition. Instinct. Instinct kicks in for survival. And I should have used the word instinct here. So instinct is the word I need. Your instinct kicks in to keep you alive. And he noted that part of what your instinct will do is it reroutes the stories, the way you frame the story that you are living. And it does it very, very fast in order for you to survive. So what it does was, as soon as people were moved into the ghetto, they immediately reframed where they had been living outside the ghetto in Warsaw. And remember, the Nazis had come in, and immediately they were already doing things like you can't walk on the sidewalk, you have to put the star on, you can't sit on a bench, you can't go to a park, you can't da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they had Kristallnacht, they had all the horrible things that happened. So they were already having horrible things happening to them. But as soon as they got in the ghetto, it got worse, and they rewrote their history. So this wasn't so bad. All those horrible things. Well, what was so bad about not being able to go to the park? We could still go and see each other. What was so bad about not being able to sit on a bench? He noted this. So what he noted was they were adapting. That survival required adapting. And the faster you could do this, the faster you would figure out a way to survive. Now, what's underneath here is your third, your identity, your sense of self. So what was significant in the adaptation is here. Not just your capacity to adapt to the different ground beneath your feet, but that you might have to adapt your identity, your income, your comfort zone. That even if you had to do that for a temporary period of time or whatever in a transition, that the faster you could do this, and how the faster, the more likely it is you would survive the transition and get on with the next stage. And he noted that people who got in there and said, okay, this isn't, but we'll make the best of this. We've got each other, we can gang together, look at this. Well, we can still, and they would build community wherever they were. They got their underground newspapers going. They rebooted their skills wherever they were. And they got life going again, even in the nightmare that was. And then there were the people who just stopped and said, this is as far as I go. That's it. This is who I am, and I can't, that's it. This is who I am, and you can't tell me that I can't be this anymore, and this is it. My dignity can't take it. I refuse. I cannot. This is who I am. And those were the people who died. They found that they were the ones that got caught in the roundups, the early roundups, that they just could not adapt. They couldn't find themselves hiding, doing things that, okay. Now I say this because adaptation is part of instinct. Instinct will tell us when we have to adapt. We just have to. We don't have options. It's adapt or not. I thought that was one of the most useful, holy lessons I have ever learned in my life. I learned it in this book. I've learned it in life, but not in a bitter way. This was a grace to learn it through this way and really get it. I've seen it, I've tasted, but I never had to learn it through a hard this. But here, I've seen how many people have not been able to move on, even though their gut instinct tells them, I've got to adapt, but I don't want to hear it. I don't want to. And they fight that instinct. And they can't get on, and it gets lodged in the heart. I don't want to forgive. I don't want to let go. And so they get a wrath, a hatred, congestion. They get a congestion of the inability to forgive. They get a bitterness right here. They get a, I'm sorry, I'm the only one this has ever happened to. They start telling themselves a story that is simply not true. They're not the only one that's ever happened to. They're not the only one that's lost a child. They're not the only one that's ever been left. They're not the only one that's ever gone broke. They're not the only one. They're not. And even if they've gone through the tortures of the damned, I think of those 3 girls that were kidnapped by that monster Ariel Castro in the United States, held in a basement for 10 years. 10 years. There isn't a torture you could do to that man that would satisfy anybody. And still, that one girl says, right in court to his face, you're not going to win. I'm getting on with my life. You're not going to beat me. I'm going to go on and have a good life, and you're going to jail. And that coward hung himself. What a shame. They should have let those boys in prison have at him. But, well, it's a lovely thought. I'm not kidding you. I enjoyed the thought. I would have said, toss him in Stateville. What a lovely thought. I would have said to the guards, turn around, boys, turn around. Okay? But the stories we tell ourselves and the myths, oh, I don't have mercy. Make no mistake. This myth, the myths we tell ourselves, they get the congestion right here. So I'm going to hit a pause button, and I'm going to toss it out here, because this is where I got to draw it out of you. I got to draw venom, okay? This is going to be a venom draw.
Right.
Because everybody goes through this. We all go through this. It's a stage of getting to know ourselves. Like, I wonder what I have in my heart there. There's nobody who doesn't go through this. Come on, children. Come on, cherubs. We all have this. And killed myself, for God's sake. I bled to death over it. Oh, I did a good job. I did a really good job. I mean, no suicide, but I bled to death over the venom in my heart. And I tell you that story. You don't need it. Just trust me. I was so angry. I could outrun any of you. If I do it good. I was so... Oh, yeah. I got style. I did it good. I did it good. So angry. Big, huge. Big, huge. Because you could tell yourself, I would never do this to anybody. How could they do it to me? That was the story in my head. That was the story in my head. I would never do this. And what's the myth? If I do good things, how could bad things happen? So I had what's called the myth perfect storm. I had several myths colliding at once in my cabeza, in my Catholic cabeza. At a Catholic perfect storm. I've been good, I pray, nyet, 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 nyet. I did this under guidance, nyet. I should have been protected, nyet. Okay, and blah, 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 blah. And it backfired. So it was a real spiritual crisis, it was a human crisis. It was the perfect storm. So the rage in me was off the charts. And I didn't have a spiritual director at the time. Big mistake. Never again. So I literally popped, and one day I started to have a nosebleed, and it didn't stop. You know, and I thought, what is this? I never had nosebleeds at that time. And I thought, well, look, I lived in New Hampshire. I lived on a farm. Pam and Jane know where I was, in this little bitty village, Walpole, like 800 people at the time. And I thought, what is this on a farm? And I just thought, funky this, right? And it just kept coming and coming, and then a blood clot goes down my throat. And I go to my neighbors. And I said, wow, man. So they said, now you just sit here. And they get a big salad bowl, and now I'm leaning over this, and it's coming out. And this wonderful couple, I hear, you know, like the bowl's filling up, and I hear Ray say to Carol, I think we should call an ambulance. So they call an ambulance, and of course, I'm living in this town, and this ambulance takes 20 minutes, you know, ding-a-ling-a-ling, right? And there's these two cooter little women who are volunteers sitting in the back of the ambulance with me. They have to prop me up or I'll choke. I'm watching out the window and they're sitting right here and they're looking at me. And the one says to the other, as if you can't hear them, do you think she's going to live? I'll never forget that. And I look, blood coming out. It says, I don't know, I've never seen anyone bleed like that.
You should put a thing on your nose to stop the little area.
They didn't.
Nobody did, stupid.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you. So I got to the hospital, and by that time, this is one of the most painful things I ever experienced. I had so much blood out of me, my veins started to collapse throughout my body. Holy mackerel, did that hurt. I felt like a whole piece of lead was on top of me. I was like, holy, does this hurt? And I don't have like big, huge, and they poke. But before we got there, I was like, oh man, wow, goodbye, click. And you know, I kind of floated out and I saw the ambulance and I'm hovering now, I'm floating, I'm doing the thing. And I thought, I'm out. And I really thought, I'm out. Am I dead? Like, is this it? And so I was waiting for the tunnel because I was really familiar with near-death experiences. And I thought, wow. So it's kind of like you're floating and you feel like, you turn, like, where's the tunnel? I really had that thought. where's the tunnel? I really did. Hello! Somebody come for me. Right. Really, I did. I thought, I'm not staying here by myself. Right? And really, and actually what happened was I felt a presence show up like, whew. It's about effing time. I mean, really, I thought, it's about time. It was actually the most comforting presence. But I couldn't see a thing. Couldn't see a thing. And I felt this being. And then I saw Norm, my Norm Shealy. And the book, Creation of Health, was about to come out. So it was 1985, 86. And there was Norm holding it on a stage. He was about to give a lecture on the book, and he said, I thought this was going to be the beginning of our work together, and it has tragically come to represent the end. And I'm watching him. And I said, you got to send me back. He's going to blow this. That's actually what I said. I promise you, before God, that is what I said. He won't do okay without me. Which, of course, proved to be true. I couldn't bear leaving him. I could not bear leaving Norm. I can't believe that. I could not bear being parted from him. I still can't. And so I was told, you're going to get back in there. The next day at the hospital, the doctor came in, and he said, we have to give you an IV. If you lose any more blood, we won't be able to save you. And here's the thing, that this taught me many things. I was so angry, and blood is family. I wasn't angry at my personal family, but at the family that had formed this business. And so it was the family archetype. It was this column and my identity as a publisher and all that. So they put the blood in me, transfusions. Two or three of them, I don't remember. And you actually can feel going, boop, 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 boop. You actually feel life coming into you. I'm not kidding you. You feel it. You feel it. It is life. And whoever's blood was in me, I have prayed so many times to thank them. I cannot tell you. I don't know whose blood gave me life again, right? But when it was over, I had been purged of fire that I could not purge myself. I was no longer on fire. And I've never been on fire like that again. I had so much fire in me. I literally imploded. And it was gone. Now all the details remained, okay? But they purged me of all the fire. I was killing myself. I was killing myself. And I did not have the wherewithal at all, or the means, or the support to get it out of me. I didn't have it. I didn't have a spiritual director. I didn't have someone to go to say, I am in crisis.
Were you aware of it? Were you aware of it?
Totally. Totally. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I had no idea I was on fire like that. I knew I'd gotten to the point where I couldn't sleep well. I was constantly in a headache. I was getting worse and worse. And it was beginning to just worse and worse. I was becoming so unsettled. My thoughts were just full of contamination. And it had contaminated my blood now. Okay? I was going down. And it just, I recommend it. But I learned. But I totally learned, honestly, the relationship of fire and fury. And of course, I'm a fire sign. I had set myself on fire. I had completely set myself on fire. And then afterwards, I honestly walked around the field of the farm and thought, you blow me away. You blow me away. You blow me away. I would have gone through that experience just to learn this. You blow me away. I was so blown away. I was like, you blow me away. I am filled with awe. I am filled with awe. Yeah. And now someone else's blood, and whoever it is, God bless you. Okay? So now we go into the heart. Don't go through my door, but you're going in. And let me say that this congestion, the heart, that attachments to what you think of as significant rage points, significant issues of the heart. What the heck was that? Have a beer. I'll meet you at the bar, honey. That was good. Okay. Okay. So if I said to you, where, and this is, I have to say this is so important. When you say you don't know yourself, you don't realize how many emotional anchors you have. And here's the, back to the history thing. Where are you other than here? Every one of these anchors positions you in a time zone other than here. Parts of you are in the last century. Do you realize that? The last century. And you really are. So, where emotionally, what is the content of your heart? And what you would like to be doesn't matter. What you're trying to be doesn't count. I don't ever want an answer like that again. I'm only interested in the present. Who are you now? What is the content of the future doesn't count. I am right now brokenhearted. I am still raging. I am this. I get the ideal, but it's the practical. What's going on in your heart? I have a loving heart and I have a broken heart. And you can have more than one heart in motion. Let's be clear here. Let's be clear here. So it's the content of the heart and how it also forms your inner self. Now let me tell you how your inner self talks to your heart. Your inner self is a narcissist. Is a narcissist. So it's going to set up the field of your heart, talking to you as if everything's all about you. Because that's how your inner self is. And so your inner self is great at destroying relationships. Certainly personal relationships. One of the reasons so many personal relationships, marriages, etc., fall apart these days is because the inner self is not good at intimate relationships. It's not good at it. The inner self does not function, is not a high functioning thing. It clings to you because you are its intimate other. I cannot explain this enough. Your inner self finds the external other person to be a threat to its existence, which is why the inner self talks to you like this. Did you tell him that you need your space? You need your space. So your lesser personality says, I need an intimate relationship, and the inner self pops up with, as long as he understands you need your space, right? You are going to tell him you need your space, and you need this, and you need that. Did you give him your list of needs yet? Because he's got to understand you. It's all about you, and how he's got to understand you. And if that works, this will work just fine, because your needs are top priority. Now he's got an inner self too, but you don't really care because your inner self is calling the shots. That's how an inner self functions. Anybody have that kind of inner self? Yeah. Hands up. Who's got that kind of inner self? Okay, well that's why your relationships usually don't work. They don't work well. How do they work, team? Not at all, right? Yeah, that's the inner self. I can't figure out why my relationships don't work. I'm such a loving person. But actually, if you check with your inner self, you're really happy alone. You're very happy alone. You're very happy alone. Your part will say, I'm really looking for someone in your inner self. No, you're not. The hell you are. You're not looking for anyone. Of course, on your own time you are. What you want is someone at your beck and call. Shut up. Yes, well, actually, yes. That's what I want. I want someone at my beck and call. Yes. That's actually, you should take out a personal ad. Inner self, looking for personal assistant. Well done, you. Really, inner self looking for someone to push around, to take me out to dinner, to have a little fun with, horizontal and vertical, and then go away. Go away, because I need my own space. Beat it. I don't like company in the evening. I really don't. I don't. I do not like company in the evening. Get out. I like my own time from 9 o'clock on. Go away. Get out of here. I don't like someone bugging me at that hour. I do not like to talk after that hour. No, I don't like to be interesting after 9 p.m. I do not. Get out of here. I talk all day. I have to be interesting. I have to do this. If you think I'm interested in interesting you, you're crazy. Get out. I don't like to have to worry about what I look like past 8 o'clock. Get out of here. Beat it. That's when I don't have to worry, don't have to talk, crash on the couch. Get out of here. This is my time, my zone. That's what my inner self needs. Now, how about you? Talk to me. Yeah.
I'm confused now about our inner self.
I'm talking about mine, baby. What about yours?
You said earlier that our inner self contains everything, beyond everything.
No. Yeah. No.
So I'm
Okay. All right.
And you also said we live in our inner self, our true self is in our inner self. But now you're saying a bunch of other stuff.
I am, but I'm not. I'm really going to confuse you now. Let's reboot.
I don't know what the inner self is now.
Stick with me. Let's do it this way. When we entered the nuclear age, let's say this part popped open, the 8th, 9th, and 10th chakras. Okay? And what happened is, a way to explain it is that all of a sudden, poof, you went into a hologram. It's like the field around you that was once very close expanded open like a hologram. Now, in the era way back, at the time of, say, Abraham and that, the human inner center wasn't open yet. It was not open. Jesus, Buddha, they hadn't opened the 4th, opened the 6th. They had not been here yet. So they didn't open the upper deck, the field here, the personal heart, the personal mind. We didn't have access to it. So all we had was tribal. We all floated in the tribe together. So the mind and the heart, we were all moving together at slow motion. We all shared one heart space, one mind space, one like this. And this is how we were evolving. This is how we were evolving. Then when the consciousness like Jesus and Buddha came along, they jumped up a notch and they engaged another level of consciousness, a quantum leap. They turned the lights on up here. And they said, now individual consciousness. Where we could pop out and, like Jesus said, you don't have to use the temple. You could access God yourself. Abba, just go on yourself. Buddha said, let me show you that this world's an illusion. You could go yourself. So now the path of the person was opened up. Well, let me check out this world by myself. The person, the self. Now we go here. We enter the nuclear age. We nuked our inner, and boom! The cosmos opens. Our cosmic self. Huge. We are discovering our interiors. We are discovering the laws of the universe. And impersonal. We're getting off the planet now. We're entering the galactic age. We're going to discover we're part of a galactic community. There are spaceships out there. It's a galactic age. So now it's the galaxy inside of us, outside, around us. What is in one is in the whole. As above, so below. We're going to step out of religions, out of those myths, which is why they're all collapsing. And we're going to get into galactic. Okay? And we think this is pretty good. This is pretty wild. This is pretty wild. And part of that journey has been to discover our inner psychic nature. Because this journey is the journey of where energy is becoming more real than matter. Thought is becoming more real than, no, we're seeing that thought has more, the authority over form. Thought comes before form. We used to think that form was it and gave no credit to thought whatsoever. We never gave credit to energy at all. So this world where we've been living, the world you grew up in, the world we all grew up in, was completely built without any truth. It was built on the idea that energy didn't count at all. It was totally built on the idea that thoughts didn't matter, that attitudes didn't matter, that energy had no clout. Medicine was built on the idea that attitudes had no authority. The whole world was built on illusions. So now what we're discovering is that we have to discover ourselves for a whole different, all over again. We have to literally discover creation all over again with a whole new set of laws, including ourselves, including who we are. So, we're entering the age of energy, and the first stage is we've been activated. We don't have 5 senses. We probably have 25. And our first is that we're discovering we're very porous, we're psychic. We have multiple intuitive centers, multiple. We have a gut instinct. And then we have a survival instinct. So we're getting multiple, and all of this is part of our, so we are beginning to discover all of this about ourselves. We begin to talk differently about how to perceive our inner self, how to perceive our interior. So we start talking differently. One of the things that we've done is that human nature has an ego, an I. One of the characteristics of human beings is that they've never been comfortable telling the truth. They've never been comfortable with the truth. They've never been comfortable, but at least before the nuclear age, we had a way of dealing with being honest and not honest. When we didn't tell the truth, we would go and admit it. We went to confession, we went to a rabbi. We had a community to which we were held accountable. It mattered if we were dishonest. Now it doesn't. Nobody holds us accountable. We're on our own. So as a way of coping with shame, as a way of coping with our own survival, as a way of letting ourselves do whatever we want, we've adapted a different kind of ego within this whole journey. A little shell that we've retreated into in this big field of consciousness that we started talking about as a way of exploring ourselves. We've morphed the human ego. We still have an ego, but we've created kind of a tag-on. We call the inner self, the inner ego, the sidebar, an additional ego. An additional ego. Because we started to talk about spirituality. We started to talk about the inner spirit. We've gone on search of the soul. The hell with that. We didn't care about that. We were searching for who we are, our higher potential, all this nonsense. And in the mix, we came up with the inner self. And we started to discover what are my real feelings and who am I and all of this. And in the mixture, out of that big mess, came this thing called my inner self, which is how we started to talk about my highest potential, my true self, my bigger ego. Does that make sense to you? It's like a product of all of this stuff, of waking up inside, of finding the next level of personal identity that is partially of the spirituality movement, and it's partially of the more psychic movement, and it's part of all of the getting to know the next level of human nature. And we're at the stage, if I could take this model and put another one up here and say, I hope this doesn't confuse too much. If the inner self had its own chakra system, I'd say we're at the third chakra of the inner self, where we're at its narcissistic stage. And it's got to get through this. It's got to get through this because it's on its way to becoming a very conscious soul it's getting to a place of being a cosmic being. And it's at the narcissistic stage, and it doesn't want to come out of that stage.
How do you get it to you? And
How would you get, ask yourself, how would you get out of a comfortable position that you don't want to get out of?
Yeah, it's a problem.
Oh, how would you, ask yourself, how would you get yourself out of a comfortable position you don't want to get out of?
To give myself a bit of a kick.
Well, what kind of kick?
Do dumb things that make you struggle?
Think about the whole.
I'd have to want it.
Is he meant to corrupt?
You know, see, I mean, there you go. I mean, here's the thing. You see, we've made being, it's become so comfortable to be fragile and needy. This is why I loathe support groups. It's become so comfortable to use your wounds, to be delicate. That's why this whole healing thing of the last 50 years is such a farce, because so much of it has encouraged people not to heal, but to become hypersensitive. Instead of becoming stronger, people have become weaker. Instead of becoming healthier, they've become more fragile. Instead of developing backbones, they've developed wishbones. Instead of becoming people with stamina and endurance, like their grandparents, people have become so delicate that if you don't look at them at the right way, they fall apart like 4-year-old children. Their hypersensitivity is enough to drive me up the wall. And it should drive yourselves up the wall. You should expect more from yourselves than the hypersensitivity of a 4-year-old. You should be able to look at yourself and say, that's enough of this. That's enough. Done. Done. You should be done processing things 20 times. It's enough. Sacrificing the whole of your wonderful life because someone said the wrong thing to you 30 years ago? Enough. Enough. Enough.